January 15th, 2023, Denver, Colorado. Denver was enveloped in a thick layer of snow, the cityscape transforming into a serene winter wonderland. The usual hustle and bustle of the city were muted by the heavy snowfall, creating an almost eerie quiet. This calm was a stark contrast to the chaos brewing behind the doors of a local gym. Jennifer Adams, a 28-year-old personal trainer, was a beacon of energy and positivity in the fitness community. Her clients praised her not only for her expertise, but also for her motivational spirit. She was dedicated to her clients, pushing them to achieve their best. Jennifer's popularity had grown significantly over the past year, and she had become a sought-after trainer in Denver. Mark Thompson, a successful 32-year-old tech consultant, had recently joined Jennifer's roster of clients. He was eager to improve his fitness and had signed up for personal training sessions. Mark was in a committed relationship with Laura Johnson, his girlfriend of 3 years. Laura was known for her sharp intelligence and drive, but beneath the surface, she harbored a deep-seated insecurity that would soon spiral out of control. As Mark began his training sessions with Jennifer, he noticed a significant improvement in his fitness levels and overall well-being. Jennifer's dedication and professional approach were paying off. However, while Mark was thriving in his new routine, Laura's feelings of unease were growing. Laura had always been supportive of Mark's goals, but something about Jennifer's presence triggered a sense of jealousy she couldn't shake. Laura's initial feelings were subtle, an uneasy sense that something was amiss whenever Mark mentioned Jennifer. It was a quiet, nagging feeling that she pushed aside. But as the weeks went by, those feelings intensified. Laura found herself constantly thinking about Jennifer, replaying their interactions in her mind, and questioning the nature of their relationship. One snowy January morning, Laura decided to visit the gym under the guise of wanting to support Mark. She arrived early, her breath visible in the cold air as she entered the building. The gym was a hub of activity, with people working out, chatting, and catching up on their fitness goals. Laura scanned the room and spotted Mark and Jennifer engaged in a training session. She tried to maintain a casual demeanor, but couldn't help feeling a pang of jealousy as she watched them. Laura's attempts to mask her discomfort were unsuccessful. She began making frequent, unannounced visits to the gym, scrutinizing every interaction between Mark and Jennifer. The more she saw them together, the more her anxiety grew. Mark noticed Laura's presence and felt uncomfortable with her increasingly erratic behavior. He tried to reassure her that nothing inappropriate was happening, but Laura's insecurities only deepened. Jennifer, on the other hand, was professional and composed. She was unaware of the full extent of Laura's jealousy and continued to focus on her work. She tried to maintain a friendly but distant relationship with Mark, keeping their interactions strictly professional. As January progressed, Laura's behavior became more alarming. She started sending Mark texts filled with accusations and doubts, questioning his commitment to their relationship and insinuating that Jennifer was a threat. Mark was caught off guard by the intensity of Laura's messages and struggled to address her concerns without escalating the situation. The growing tension between Laura and Mark began to affect their relationship. They argued frequently, and Laura's jealousy was a constant source of conflict. Mark tried to bridge the gap, but Laura's paranoia was taking its toll. By the end of January, it was clear that Laura's feelings of jealousy and insecurity were not going away. The once peaceful winter in Denver was now overshadowed by the brewing storm of Laura's obsessive jealousy. The quiet whispers of discontent were about to escalate into something far more dangerous, setting the stage for the events that would follow. As February rolled in, Denver's snow-covered streets gave way to a slightly less frigid chill. The city began to thaw, but the tensions simmering beneath the surface were far from cooling off. The once tranquil atmosphere now seemed to carry an underlying sense of foreboding, especially within the walls of the local gym where Jennifer Adams worked. Laura Johnson's behavior had reached a new level of intrusiveness. Her frequent, unannounced visits to the gym had become a routine. Each time, she would stand by the entrance, her eyes scanning the room for any sign of a personal connection between Jennifer and Mark. Her presence was becoming a familiar, unsettling fixture at the gym, and Jennifer, though initially unsure how to handle the situation, chose to remain professional and composed. On February 10th, the gym was buzzing with activity as usual. Mark was midway through a rigorous training session with Jennifer, pushing his limits under her guidance. Jennifer was focused on correcting Mark's form and offering encouragement, her attention entirely on her client. Unbeknownst to them, Laura was lurking just outside the glass-paneled doors, peering in with an expression that mixed anger and paranoia. Laura's face was flushed as she watched Jennifer's every move. She had grown increasingly agitated, convinced that Jennifer was deliberately trying to undermine her relationship with Mark. Her jealousy had transformed into an obsession, driving her to scrutinize even the most benign interactions between the two. After the session ended, Laura approached Mark with a strained smile. She greeted him with a false cheerfulness that did little to mask her true emotions. Mark could sense the tension and tried to act normal, but Laura's behavior was becoming increasingly erratic. She questioned him about his workout, deliberately steering the conversation towards Jennifer. Mark tried to deflect, but Laura's relentless questioning was wearing him down. Later that day, Mark received a series of unsettling text messages from Laura. The texts were filled with accusations and veiled threats, accusing him of being too friendly with Jennifer and questioning his loyalty. Each message seemed more intense than the last, reflecting Laura's escalating paranoia. Mark was taken aback by the aggression and felt helpless in the face of Laura's accusations. He tried to reassure her over the phone, but his attempts were met with more anger and accusations. Jennifer noticed the shift in Mark's demeanor during their next session. He seemed preoccupied and distant, frequently checking his phone and appearing frustrated. When Jennifer asked if everything was okay, Mark reluctantly shared some of the troubling messages he had received. Jennifer was shocked and concerned, but remained cautious about getting directly involved in Mark and Laura's relationship issues. The situation grew more tense as Laura's behavior became more unpredictable. She began showing up at the gym during off hours, stalking Jennifer's social media profiles, and even confronting other gym-goers about their interactions with Jennifer. Her actions were increasingly invasive, crossing boundaries that made others uncomfortable. Her jealousy was turning into a compulsive need to control every aspect of Mark's interactions with Jennifer. One particularly cold evening, Laura decided to confront Jennifer directly. She arrived at the gym unannounced and waited until Jennifer was closing up for the day. As Jennifer prepared to leave, Laura approached her with a forced calmness that barely concealed her underlying hostility. "Can we talk?" Laura's voice was edged with an unmistakable tone of accusation. Jennifer, taken aback, agreed to a brief conversation. Laura accused her of flirting with Mark and suggested that Jennifer was trying to steal him away. Jennifer tried to defuse the situation with empathy, explaining that she was just doing her job and had no interest in crossing personal boundaries. Laura's rage, however, was not easily quelled. She stormed off, leaving Jennifer shaken and unsettled. By mid-February, Laura's obsession had become a disruptive force in Jennifer's life. Jennifer tried to stay focused on her work, but the tension and the feeling of being watched weighed heavily on her. Laura's presence was a constant reminder of the unresolved conflict, and the atmosphere at the gym grew increasingly charged with a sense of impending trouble. The early days of March brought a sharp contrast to the chilly winter that had gripped Denver. The snow melted into slush, and the city was slowly shaking off its winter coat. However, the warmth of spring did little to thaw the frost between Laura Johnson and Jennifer Adams. The tension between them had reached a breaking point. March 5th started like any other day at the gym. The facility was bustling with activity, with clients working out under the guidance of trainers. Jennifer Adams was in her element, focusing on her clients and maintaining a professional demeanor. Mark Thompson had an early morning session scheduled with her. Despite his strained relationship with Laura, Mark continued his workouts with Jennifer, trying to keep a semblance of normalcy in his life. Laura's jealousy, however, was now fully visible to everyone around her. Her behavior had escalated from suspicious to overtly hostile. On this particular morning, she decided to confront Jennifer in a manner that would leave no room for misunderstanding. Jennifer was finishing up her session with Mark when Laura walked into the gym with a determined stride. The atmosphere shifted as soon as she entered, and Mark tensed, sensing the impending confrontation. Laura's eyes locked onto Jennifer with a mix of anger and desperation. The tension was palpable. Laura approached Jennifer directly, bypassing the front desk and making a beeline for her. Jennifer, seeing the storm brewing, tried to keep her composure. She greeted Laura with a polite but cautious smile. "Laura, can I help you with something?" Jennifer asked, trying to keep her voice neutral. Laura's eyes were cold. "I think we need to talk. Now." Jennifer's heart sank as she realized that this conversation was not going to be a friendly one. She nodded and led Laura to a quieter corner of the gym, away from curious onlookers. Mark, feeling helpless, watched from a distance, torn between intervening and letting the situation unfold. Once they were in a more secluded area, Laura didn't waste any time. "I'm tired of your games, Jennifer. I've seen how you act around Mark. You think you're so subtle, but I know exactly what you're doing." Jennifer's expression remained calm, but her mind raced. "Laura, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just doing my job." Laura's face flushed with anger. "Don't play innocent with me. You think you can take my boyfriend from me? I've seen the way you look at him, the way you touch him during your sessions. It's disgusting." Jennifer took a deep breath, trying to remain professional. "Laura, I assure you, there is nothing inappropriate going on. I'm here to help Mark achieve his fitness goals. I have no interest in crossing any personal boundaries." Laura's anger seemed to reach a fever pitch. "Don't lie to me. I've seen the texts he's been getting from you. You're just trying to get under my skin and break us up." Jennifer was taken aback. "What texts? I have never sent Mark any texts outside of our training sessions. I don't even have his number." Laura's accusation hung in the air, but Jennifer's calm demeanor began to defuse the situation. She took out her phone and showed Laura the absence of any communication with Mark. Laura's face showed a flicker of uncertainty, but her anger remained. "I don't believe you," Laura spat. "You're just another woman trying to ruin my life. If you think you can get away with this, you're wrong." Jennifer, feeling the confrontation was getting nowhere, decided to end the discussion. "Laura, I think it's best if we both step back from this conversation. I'm here to do my job, and I have no interest in any personal drama. I suggest you discuss your concerns with Mark directly." Laura's eyes narrowed as she realized that her confrontation was not yielding the desired result. "We're not done here," she said through gritted teeth. "This isn't over." With that, Laura stormed out of the gym, leaving Jennifer shaken but resolute. The confrontation had been intense, and Jennifer felt a sense of relief mixed with anxiety. Laura's hostility was now undeniable, and the danger of her obsessive jealousy was becoming increasingly clear. The chill of March was giving way to the first hints of spring in Denver, but the city's atmosphere was far from warm. The tension surrounding Jennifer Adams, Laura Johnson, and Mark Thompson had reached a boiling point. The cold, crisp air seemed to carry a sense of foreboding, and the tranquility of the city was about to be shattered. On March 20th, Mark Thompson arrived at the gym for his usual early morning session with Jennifer Adams. The gym was relatively quiet, with only a few dedicated members working out before heading off to their daily routines. Jennifer was already there, preparing for the day's appointments. She greeted Mark with her usual warmth, unaware of the sinister events that were about to unfold. Laura Johnson's obsession had escalated dangerously over the past few weeks. Her confrontations with Jennifer had only fueled her paranoia, and her actions had become increasingly erratic. Laura had been sending threatening messages to Mark, accusing him of infidelity and blaming Jennifer for their relationship troubles. Mark was troubled by Laura's behavior, but hoped that addressing the issues directly might bring some resolution. Earlier that morning, Mark had received an anonymous message on his phone. The message was chilling and menacing, warning him to stay away from Jennifer. The message was laced with threats and dark insinuations, signed simply with an ominous L. Mark, recognizing the pattern from Laura's previous messages, was alarmed but unsure how to handle it. He hoped that Laura's threatening behavior would subside, but the message cast a shadow over his morning. When Mark arrived at the gym, he saw Jennifer working out with another client. He greeted her with a forced smile and began his own warm-up routine. Despite his attempts to focus on his workout, his mind was preoccupied with the disturbing message he had received. As the session progressed, Mark's concerns grew, and he found it difficult to concentrate. Jennifer noticed Mark's distracted demeanor and approached him during a break. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her tone filled with genuine concern. Mark hesitated before replying. "I've been getting some weird messages from Laura. They're pretty threatening. I don't know what to do." Jennifer's concern deepened. "Have you talked to her about it?" Mark shook his head. "I've tried, but she's not listening. I'm worried things might escalate." Jennifer nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "Just stay cautious. If you need to, You should involve the authorities." The rest of the session was tense, with both Mark and Jennifer trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy. The gym's calm environment felt increasingly suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in on the mounting tension. Later that day, Jennifer headed to her apartment, eager to unwind after a long day. She arrived home around 6 p.m. and settled in, preparing to relax. As she made her way through her apartment, she noticed that something felt off. The usual calm of her home was replaced by an uneasy silence. Jennifer entered her kitchen to find a note on the counter. The note was handwritten and contained a chilling message: "You're next? Stay away from Mark or else." The note was signed with the same ominous L that Mark had seen earlier. Jennifer's heart raced as she read the threatening words. She tried to remain calm, but the sense of danger was overwhelming. Feeling a surge of fear, Jennifer decided to call Mark to let him know about the note. As she reached for her phone, she heard a noise coming from her bedroom. Her pulse quickened as she cautiously approached the door, her mind racing with terrifying possibilities. As Jennifer opened the door, she was met with an unsettling sight. The room was in disarray, and the window was slightly ajar. Before she could react, a sudden wave of dizziness overcame her. She stumbled and collapsed to the floor, her vision blurring as she lost consciousness. Jennifer woke up hours later in a hospital bed, groggy and disoriented. The sterile smell of the hospital and the beeping of machines were a stark contrast to the chaos she had experienced. Mark and the police were at her bedside, their faces filled with concern. "Jennifer, are you okay?" Mark asked, his voice filled with worry. Jennifer tried to speak, but struggled to form words. The doctors explained that she had been poisoned, and her condition was serious but stable. The authorities were already investigating the case, and they suspected that Laura Johnson was involved. The evidence pointed towards her as the prime suspect, given the threatening messages and the pattern of behavior. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that Laura's obsession had driven her to commit a heinous act. The police traced the origins of the poison. Fortunately, her condition was stable, and she had been released from the hospital after several days of intensive care. Her recovery was ongoing, marked by regular follow-up appointments and therapy sessions. Despite the progress, the trauma lingered, casting a shadow over her once vibrant life. Mark Thompson, grappling with the fallout from the ordeal, had been a constant support for Jennifer. The attack had strained their relationship, but it had also brought them closer in many ways. Mark's loyalty and concern had been unwavering, and he was determined to help Jennifer navigate the challenges ahead. They both knew that the path to healing would be long, but they were committed to facing it together. Laura Johnson's arrest had been a media sensation, with news outlets covering the story extensively. The trial was set to begin in a few weeks, and the community was abuzz with anticipation. Laura's actions had shocked everyone, and there was a collective sense of urgency to see justice served. On April 15th, the day of the preliminary hearing, the atmosphere at the courthouse was tense. Jennifer and Mark arrived early, prepared to face the legal proceedings. They had been advised to attend the hearing to provide their statements and to gain closure from the experience. The courtroom was filled with reporters, legal teams, and curious onlookers, all eager to witness the outcome of the high-profile case. Laura Johnson entered the courtroom with a solemn expression. She had been in custody since her arrest, and the weight of her actions seemed to hang heavily upon her. The charges against her were serious: attempted murder, harassment, and stalking. The evidence against her was compelling, including the threatening messages, the purchase of the poison, and the direct confrontation with Jennifer. As the hearing commenced, the prosecution presented their case with clear and convincing evidence. They described Laura's obsessive behavior, her threats, and the attempted poisoning of Jennifer. The testimonies were powerful, painting a vivid picture of Laura's descent into dangerous jealousy. Mark and Jennifer both took the stand, providing their accounts of the events leading up to the attack and its impact on their lives. Laura's defense attorney argued that her actions were the result of an unmanageable emotional state, seeking to mitigate the severity of her crimes. They portrayed Laura as a woman driven to madness by her jealousy and claimed that she had not intended to cause serious harm. The defense's attempts to downplay Laura's responsibility were met with skepticism from the court and the public. Jennifer's testimony was particularly emotional. She spoke about the fear and trauma she experienced, detailing how Laura's actions had disrupted her life and forced her to confront the darkest aspects of human behavior. Her courage in recounting the events was met with empathy from the courtroom, and her words resonated deeply with those present. As the hearing drew to a close, the judge addressed the court. The evidence against Laura was overwhelming, and the case was clear. The judge scheduled a trial date for the following month, emphasizing the need for a thorough examination of the evidence and a fair trial for Laura. The legal process would continue, but the preliminary hearing had already set the stage for the forthcoming trial. With the hearing behind them, Jennifer and Mark faced the next steps in their lives with a renewed sense of determination. The trial would undoubtedly be another challenging chapter, but they were committed to seeing it through. Their focus now was on healing and rebuilding their lives. The community's response to the case was one of solidarity. Support for Jennifer and Mark came in many forms: letters, messages, and gestures of goodwill. The case served as a reminder of the importance of addressing emotional distress and preventing such obsessions from escalating into violence. As April progressed, Jennifer's recovery continued, and she began to find solace in her routines. She returned to work part-time, gradually reintegrating into her professional life. Her resilience and strength became a source of inspiration for others who had faced similar challenges. Mark remained by her side, providing unwavering support as they navigated the complexities of their situation. Together, they worked to rebuild their trust and strengthen their relationship, emerging from the ordeal with a deeper understanding of each other. Laura Johnson's trial would unfold in the coming months, but the resolution of the case had already begun to shape the future for Jennifer and Mark. They faced the days ahead with a mix of hope and caution, determined to move forward from the shadows of the past and embrace the promise of new beginnings.